Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continuing playthrough of Hearts of Iron 3 with Black Ice 8.52. Mentioning that, what do you think about the new map? This is obviously the political map that they have here, but I also like using this. That looks rather pretty, and the new air base and naval bases. I don't really have a choice not to use them in a practical sense for this series, but just wondered what you guys thought of them. An improvement, just different, don't know. I mean, I think it's pretty nice. I know some people, and I'm not, maybe I should say I may be one of them. Potentially, I'm on the fence about the idea of wanting a more paper map look, as opposed to trying to look in a more realistic. So, just wondered what you were thinking about it. And I presume most of you still prefer the political map mode over the terrain mode. But what they've tried to do, the Black Ice team, is win in the political map mode to better have the terrain elements bleed through. So you get the best of both. Okay, medium bomber prototypes. Okay. Now that opens up bomber research. We're gonna do fighter. First priority, make sure Britain survives. And to achieve that goal, I think air superiority will be very useful. I think, again, just from watching experience, we may be immune from AI German invasions, but I do know, I know there's one sort of, under the right conditions, a sea lion will fire in German invasion, and I don't know how dynamic that is, and if there's maybe more than one of them, but they could still, cut the Mediterranean, cut off my shipping, and starve me to death. Okay, grand battle plan. Let's shift over here. We'll do armor unit training. We're barely putting anything into officers, okay. Just see that we're at 110. Don't think we need to be overly recruiting. Yeah, Republican Spain is slowly losing here. And China is holding on very well, actually. It's taken out the Japanese invasions here. I was really glad to see the AI try that, but I guess it didn't try it with enough force. Uh-oh, somebody's got our blueprints. Unknown spies. And fire control system training, that would be, I believe, here. Let's do radar training. Because with these terrains, particularly some of the urban and river here, though this may be able to break out here, and the communists get some ungodly bonuses in their territory, so they're able to hold out against. I think these are the communists, aren't they? Oh no, these aren't. Gotta go back to the political map. These are the communists. So once they get down to here, that's a massive bulwark against any invasion. Okay, artillery unit combined arms. That is incredibly useful because basically every division just about has artillery in it. Sort of like the recon units, where not everyone has an armor unit in it. Okay, the Franco regime. Great Britain and France recognizes the Franco regime in February, and international recognition quickly followed. Well, nice picture of Franco there. Good work there. If the Republicans were doing any better, I don't know if there's any other, like, how quickly the end will come for Republicans. Spain. And also, as you can see, neutrality. With them getting a lot of neutrality means it puts them much less likely to join the Axis. So we're going to recognize them. Because we don't need them in the Axis. Because we don't need Gibraltar being besieged by... And that was part of the calculation, of course, historically. But we don't need Gibraltar besieged by Franco when he joins Germany. Right now, unless Germany declares war on nationalist Spain, I don't think we're going to see an overland invasion. So we either have a German invasion coming in maybe, or an Italian naval invasion. And those are things we can deal with ships. Especially way out here, if they don't have air to support them, we can probably destroy their ships. Move our observers over here. And machine gun cannon combos. They're even better. Fighters. Improve the engines, get the Supermarine. Oh no, the Merlin, sorry. It was Supermarine Spitfire, but the Merlin engine in it. Yeah, it looks like they're all retreating, and there are a lot of militia type units. Partisans. Which are nice, but they don't hold up against proper divisions attacking them. Heavy, okay. I think that means we grade out there. Okay, we'll let that go because we were in a bit of a deficit. And we have another fighter. Squadron ready to go. There we go. We'll add them to there. Part of our defensive arrangements. That is looking fairly good. Let's right on. There we go. Reconnaissance. You know, unfortunately we can't, well, yes we can. We can send up one of these guys. Well, let's see if we got a surface ship. They get better observation. Send them up to Hong Kong. I want to see if we can observe the Chinese-Japanese war. The Japanese didn't like outsiders observing the war. During this time period, there were still river flotillas from, I believe, America, England, and I think France, still patrolling some of the Chinese rivers to deal with the warlordism and making sure that commerce flowed. It really upset the Chinese to have foreign national ships. I understand why, but it would, but it was still a practical thing. And the Japanese, at least local commanders, I would say, deliberately attacked some Western ships, including some Americans that were oh, too far away. Yeah, too far away. So we can't even go up there with them. Okay, infantry unit combined arms, good. Air launch torpedoes, which will most assuredly help us. Well, we're doing fairly well with our torpedoes. Well, we can improve those. I don't know how many we're going to be building carrier-wise from now on. Good. Let's put that down here. I'm thinking we're going to use, if we get these done in time, I'm thinking possibly for the BDF support, but that's sort of the tricky thing, is that if we put them into France, we're going to have to make sure we withdraw them if we're losing. I don't want to lose the divisions. So, like I was saying, some of the, at least the local commanders, in my opinion, totally knew that they were bombing some Western vessels, including American ships, in and naval vessels in Shanghai. The Japanese were quite likely, because of the divide between the Japanese army operating here and even the Japanese high command here. It was sort of a dual system, and quite, like I say, quite likely the political leaders didn't know anything about it and weren't terribly pleased. But, and I'm not saying that I know for sure or anything, like the high command for the war in China knew it was a planned thing, but it wasn't just, oops, we targeted the wrong vessel. It happened enough that they had to know, and there were no other Chinese vessels, naval warships hanging out and around there for them to think that they were something else. Okay, African Army recruitment. Well, for the cost of this, I'm still liking that, so we're going to do that. I know we're pushing a little ahead. Okay, Coastal Command, Lockheed Hudson. Lockheed Hudson would make a very useful maritime patrol. And naval bomber, we could order some from the U.S. Money, supplies, loss, place an air order. Great. This, I believe, is for our records. Yeah, so hopefully we get some of the better ones. Well, just a basic unit. Hoping for something like a bit more like that, or at least with camel cores. Camel cores look cool. Don't know if they are cool, but they look cool. Okay, now we've got, since we had that other division show up. Yeah, I think I want one more armored division. There we go. And let's do that. There we go. Get the fighters in there too. Now, last episode, we'll see what Bulgaria wants. Good. We sent Akanlek, which will stick with some division. I'm sending these guys to meet up with my other landing craft here. Put them both in one location. Now, that might be a decent infantry tanks, motorized support, or the guards brigade. I think the infantry tanks are probably the better bet. Gotta find a unit that's small enough that we can add an extra thing to. Okay, so they're moving another proper division up here. And Bulgaria is offering us a trade agreement. We would give them supplies for money. Okay. Not that I think it's going to keep them out of the Axis, but we never know. That's a nice picture of them. Okay. Let's see. We gained high popularity. That's very good. Direct fire. Combined arms. And armor plating advance in on fighters. Well, we have a bunch of fighter bombers, so we'll improve those. Fuselage. Aerodynamics. And because we've got that better popularity, let's go for airborne. Well, engineers would be most excellent to have improved. And we've got our, presumably our Norwich. Oh. Here. Okay, good. Some light bombers. And sure, we'll attach them to Coastal Command, CC Air Wing. Yeah, we have some ICs going to replacements there. We still have a minor positive for the supplies. And attack pilot training, which will help those pilots of those planes. Yes, of course, I'd like to do all of these. Well, battlefield. Fiction. Well, let's do some of these at least. It'll help, I'm sure. Don't know, China, if you really need to guard against an invasion from me. Okay, airborne unit training has advanced. Just in case we use an airborne operation, we would like it to be successful. Okay, submarine classes have advanced. There are a bunch of improvements potentially here. So all of the, or at least most all of these. Indirect to step up there. Like I say, I'm not really in favor of this. mechanic. It's going a bit overboard, I think. Let's take one of the longer ones, get it started. Still thinking I'm probably going to withdraw these guys, because these guys are just dead meat once we're getting too close to a Japanese invasion, potentially. And I don't know really what Hong Kong gives us in a game sense. I don't think it directly helps trade or anything like that, which is what it did do. I think giving Hong Kong back to China was a very big mistake on Britain's part. Don't know if Portugal had the wherewithal to keep Macau, but if I were Britain, I would have kept Hong Kong. Now, I know China, and I have almost zero. I think maybe it's all blocked in China. There's some viewership in Taiwan, and I'm sure that there are Chinese people in other parts of the world, including we have a fair number of viewership in Singapore. The one place we don't have viewership is New Zealand. I mean, I've got more viewership in like Croatia or Singapore, literally, than I do in New Zealand. I understand why I might not have a very big viewership in South Africa, just because I don't know how what's the internet viewership in South Africa technologically, but you know, good in most places. But when you get more viewership in Vietnam than you do in New Zealand, very respectable. Australia's in the top 10 nations watching the channel, so Australia, yeah, but New Zealand, not so much. But so yeah, they're, you know, so I maybe what I'm saying is offending some of the Chinese people here, but China talks about the unequal treaties. Two things. One, all treaties are unequal. All treaties are a power relationship. No two nations, in any real practical sense, are exactly power neutral to each other and make agreements on that basis. It's always one nation a little bit more powerful than the other, or greatly or minorly. One nation, even the powerful one, may really want something really badly, so it gives in a lot to the less powerful one. But they're all unequal relationships. One. Two, if you look at the history of China and its treaties before it fell apart, you know, they were very unequal to other people. So that's a lot of BS. China lost the war. Because of that, we can argue the merits of the war, the Opium Wars, you know, state-sponsored drug dealers. You know, we can argue the merits of the war. That's a legitimate thing to do. But they lost the war. The treaty gave them Hong Kong in perpetuity to Britain. Okay. Then later on, Britain got the New Territories lease. That's what was coming due. And I think when basically that Hong Kong was, everyone realized that Hong Kong was going to go back to China, Macau gave in too. And so when the lease agreement And a lot of the, if my understanding is correct, I've never been to Hong Kong, but a lot of the, or some of the infrastructure support for Hong Kong was based over in the new territories. The sort of little bit on the peninsula there. It's nothing this size. These are, not even the size of this air base here, really. That part was legitimately, the lease was up and China wasn't going to renew it. What I would have done, not 6 months before, not 6 years before, but realized 10 or 20 years before the lease was going to be up, and knowing that, okay, and they knew 20 years before that Communist China is Communist China, and you needed to do this maybe 20 years before. Britain should have really looked ahead and went to Communist China like 20 years before and go, hey, we want another 100-year lease on the new territories. And you know what, if they had done that, I just betcha, Communist China would have said yes. Because what I would have done is if I were the British, would have gone, try to time it with the right American president, and go, especially like under Reagan, go to the U.S. and go say, hey, one is we want to de-recognize the People's Republic of China as China and re-recognize as the legitimate government of China, and we want to recognize the Republic of China on Taiwan. This is before they gave up their legitimate claims over China being the legitimate government of China, and say, okay, we want to do that, and then tell the Chinese that we're going to not extend the relationship or extend the lease on the new territory. We're going to make preparations to turn the new territories over to the Republic of China. And they're going to get to station troops and equipment there. I think because the Republic of China still owns, I think this island here. I don't really know, but a couple of the little coastal islands are basically forts. But set up and say that we're going to do that, and so we're going to be making preparations to turn it over to the Republic of China, which would have been a big economic boon to the Republic of China at the time. And even if they later converted over to just Taiwan, but they could have then had the new territories, which would have been good. I think under those conditions, China would have at least done, because China takes the long view, they would have at least signed a 50-year lease, probably a 100-year lease, and recognized that Hong Kong, maybe Macau as well, but Hong Kong was British, and like I say, maybe Hong Kong or Macau was Portuguese. But that's what I would have tried to do if I was Britain. Keep Hong Kong. And I think that the Communist Chinese would have caved on that and would have extended the new territories lease. That's and I thought that about 10 or 15 years before the lease was up. No, of course, no one was listening to me at the time, but that's how I would have handled Britain keeping Hong Kong. And you can talk about national pride, and that's a legitimate thing, but you can also talk about how there was a massive exodus of, well, both an exodus as well as anyone who could get a British passport that was, a Hong Kong person that could get a British passport, basically did, is my understanding. Even if they remained in Hong Kong, they wanted to do so as either dual or British citizen to be able to leave if things go bad in China. So, I know one guy whose wife, who was from Hong Kong, had, and he was from Taiwan, moved to Canada because of the impending situation there, and he was, because he was married to and she had a British passport, and because of that, I think they met in Taiwan, but because of that, they left Asia. Now I lost contact with them many years ago, so I don't know if they've reconciled that, hey, Hong Kong's not such a bad place under the People's Republic or whatever, and it isn't a terrible place under the communist rule, but you just don't know how it's going to go. Okay, light and aircraft armament for all of our ships. That is good. Make sure we're at least somewhat up to date with our tanks. How's our production doing here? Okay, we're getting through that reasonably well. Okay, pretty soon. Okay. Reconnaissance craft designs. This is an interesting idea. This is obviously a new tech here. That instead of having a special reconnaissance type, something like the mosquitoes or whatever, the problem with that is the AI doesn't know how to use them. So if you get some special reconnaissance aircraft, and the AI does, but has no ability to even, you know, that they would be, you know, suck as fighter aircraft and suck as bombers. Okay, we're a little ahead, fine, but I don't want to get these, which will improve other research. You know, suck as fighters, suck as bombers, wouldn't know what to do with them. But by sort of simulating the development and having them enhance other types, that works. Closer fighters. Pilot training, okay, well. Let's at least get these up a little bit. Well, these guys can come home. Nothing left to observe along there, really. Wing aerodynamics. Good, and this one we will shift up to electronic computing machines. I'm blaming the loss here on some of, I believe they're event-driven, or something that raised the partisan rebels, whatever they were, up along this border. I was calling away frontline units that would have otherwise been no, we don't want a carpet bomber for fighter and fighter command air wing. There we go. Now we have a bunch of fighter types all organized up. Okay. Improved our ammo, which is very good. I'm going to skip rocket artillery. It's not useless, but it's actually become more useful now with having that do a lot of SA. improvements in having well, this has changed somewhat, but it's mostly as you can see here, various other benefits, different improvements to attack in different terrains. Okay, well, I still object to the body armor because I don't think that, especially on this, not specialist, sure, but not on a general scale. I don't believe anybody with any practical ability to use that in World War II. And no, I didn't go in and edit it so that the AI wouldn't do it, and I don't know if they would or not. Okay, yeah. I just really feel I'm underdeveloping. I know I'm putting in a lot of capital ships onto the board, which hopefully will really help. But just building 2 divisions right now, because that's not under production, just feels really underperforming. Okay, well, I think we'll take this opportunity to end this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. I do appreciate that. And of course, please post comments. I really do like hearing from you. So, see you next time.